Hello viewers, good afternoon and welcome once again to another edition of the Business X-Ray Show. Of course, we're here to share experiences of entrepreneurs, people who have made it in business. Well, you could say some are still on the journey to making it because like they say, businesses are going concern. You can't say that I've ticked all the boxes. There is always room for more growth. I think even the richest man in the world is still, aspiring to achieve more and more. But again, today we are looking at a very important topic. And I'm sure you've been seeing the video montages and our promos talking about vocational training. And a number of experts have pointed to the fact that this is what we need to answer a number of our pressing issues as a country, economic that is, and one among those is actually the area of unemployment. And today we are blessed to have a proprietor of a vocational institution in this country. He's going to share his story, of course, from the point of view of him being a business person or a businessman for that matter, but then also training or making other people who make the things that we use or we should use in our businesses, or probably support some of our business aspirations and the like. So without any further ado, I am going to ask my producer who is going to play that video montage. But before we do that, I'll introduce Rogers. Rogers, yes. You're most welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Very good. Now that is Rogers Ijuka. He is the proprietor of Raptech Institute of Business and Technology. And with me still in the studio, I have Ronald. Ronald, you're most welcome to the studio.
Thank you so much, Charles. It's an honor to be here, and I want to thank all of you who have joined us for the session today. It's always an honor for us to come and have conversations about business.
Now, before we go into the montage and the discussion later, Ronald, I don't know what has caught your attention this week. Quite interesting developments we're seeing in the world, and some, because we live in a global village, like they say, some are beginning to spill into our spaces on the economic front. Yeah. We've started to hear talk of the world or the global economy going into a recession because of what's happening. Yeah. I don't know, what has caught your attention this week?
I think it is hard to ignore what is happening all over the world. I think it has been a long 3 to 4 years, all the way from the COVID pandemic. We went into the big inflation, then there was a war. And now we are seeing the unprecedented events which are happening in what you would otherwise have said are relatively stable nations. And I think we are seeing the kind of all this culminating to the conversation that you're mentioning about as the whole entire world getting into a recession. And we do know that I think 20 years ago you felt like, oh, it's a financial crisis, it will stop somewhere. We will get a few punches here and there, but when people look at the pump prices and they see where they have reached, they know that we are part of this global economy. Yes. So as we compete, we know we are competing with the world. As we plan for our businesses, we do know that there are other people who are planning for our markets, and some of them are not in them. So it's a very interesting, they're very interesting events. But I think one of the sources of hope is that we are told amidst turbulence, the entrepreneur usually uses that as an opportunity to actually emerge. And I think for the business people who are listening to us, in times of turbulence like this, in times of uncertainty, their job is to see the opportunity clearly, and more importantly, to harness it. So we are hoping that those who have the privilege of being business people, who have had the opportunity of being entrepreneurs, who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs, they can be able to see clearly these opportunities that are emerging during this season, so that we can be able to seize them.
Indeed. And part of our job here is actually to help you see some of these opportunities. Like they say, there's always a silver lining on every dark cloud. So I'm going to ask my producer to play for us that video of Rogers to, get a feel of who Rogers is and what he does in a moment.
I'm called Rogers Ijuka. I'm the Executive Director, Raptech Institute of Business and Technology. I'm also the Executive Director of Free and Rich Uganda. After finishing my degree course at Chambogo University in 2007, I started with a business of servicing and repairing computers. I did a course of science and technology, physics. And then when we went for internship, because I wanted to get computer skills, my passion was in computers. I wanted to get skills in repairing and servicing computers. So I went to a company and got skills of repairing computers. So my last year at university, I was very busy. I was a busy person because I was repairing computers for students and for businesses around, stationaries around. So that gave me a chance to get some experience even before I finished. So when I was finishing, I came with tools to start, because I had realized that here in Tungamo there was no one who was professional in repairing those computers. At the district and at by then I think it was still a town council. They were hiring people from Kabare or Mbarara to come and repair computers. So that's why I decided to get those skills of repairing computers. So when I came, I immediately started, because it all needed software, to come with software and some tools to start. And then I started that business in town. When I was at campus, I had a computer in my room, so I came with it, and I had a radio and a loudspeaker. So that is how I started the business, with one computer and a radio, which could amplify the music. Because I loaded the computer with music, so I started. I was joined by a friend. He's called Mr. Mugume Danson. We started together on day one. We started burning music to CD. Then I could repair computers and offering services of giving people technical knowledge about computer consultancy. By then people had little knowledge about computer here. Then later we introduced a service of training people with computer skills, giving them computer skills. And after a short time, it proved to be working. Many people started coming to get those skills. Even people at the district. I remember one time there was a cow who came and registered to train in those skills. So that is what inspired us to start an institute. That workshop opened our minds and our eyes. Of course, for us, we are thinking small like any other young people starting. But when we interacted with Mr. Ochicha and others, our mindset was changed. Our eyes were opened wide, and we started thinking big. The idea of starting an institute began. And it did not stop there, by the way. We also developed the idea of training fellow youth or other youth. And when we started the institute, we started doing what Mr. Ochiche does to our students. We started by training them, empowering them with entrepreneurship skills. We started training them. We could also organize like a day's workshop, a 2 days workshop. We could even invite some other people, business people around. They could join us, and we train the youth. And then we could also go out and follow up those students and see what they are doing. Many of our students are successful businessmen in Tungamo and outside Tungamo. And then that idea did not stop there. It grew, and we even thought of taking it to the communities who give us students. So we started organizing community skill development workshops by holding one-day training workshops in the communities. We could do the trainings in churches. We could get churches and go there and train. So that idea became big. We were renting a small press. Then we contacted the landlord. He gave us the whole building. We rented the whole building. We displaced other tenants, and then we advertised the institute. People came, and on 1st June 2009, we opened the institute. I remember we started with 1 student, 10, then they increased to 20, then 15, okay, 35. Then after some time, we rented a bigger press, and we shifted the institute there. We were there for some good years, up to I think 2020, when we bought this press where we are right now. When the service of training people became something that we saw that is needed, we said, why not come up with another organization which can specialize in training people outside in the communities. So we started Free and Rich Uganda, specifically most important to train people with those skills of entrepreneurship. We have business courses which include both at certificate and diploma. They include accountancy, almost all business courses, accountancy, secretarial, records, journalism. Then we have IT. We have catering. We have many. In fact, even the teaching, we have nursery teaching. Then we have in the technical departments, building. We have plumbing. We have electrical installation and others. All these courses are UBTEB, and they are all 2 years. And here we charge termly, because we introduced the SEMSA system and the parents did not get it well. We have around 300 students, but we hope to get more next year. We are targeting 500 students. One is discipline. We are known of having disciplined students. We concentrate on that so much, because that's what makes those students become successful when they get out of here. And then academic excellence. Make sure that our students pass very well. Of course, every year there is an achievement, like purchasing this press is one of the biggest achievements for Uptake Institute. The institution is fully registered with the Ministry of Education and Sports, and also has a UBTEB center number who give us the exams that for the courses we offer. Of course, I want degree programs.
I'm Danson Mugume, Human Resource Officer, Uptake Institute of Business and Technology. So far, teaching staff, we have 23. Then non-teaching staff, we have 8.
So this is my office at Free and Rich Uganda. Here we are implementing a program called the Socio-Economic Empowerment Program. We are having 5 branches in Ntungamo district, in different parts of Ntungamo district, and we have at least 1,300 members in all these branches. The services we offer here, we give people money which is startup capital in form of revolving fund at low interest rate, and we also we train people with entrepreneurship skills.
Well, viewers, welcome back. Well, that's the story of Rogers. Quite interesting issues he brings out, Ronald. And one of the things that caught my attention is the fact that Rogers began early and he knew what he wanted early, right from university. And that speaks directly to many of our young people, the youth. Because I keep getting that question, people asking and wondering, when should someone start business? Or entertaining such ideas. But I don't want to bias you. I'm sure you've picked some. I don't know, what are your quick pickings out of that little montage?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Charles. I think you kind of touched on the my initial thought from the onset. I hope the viewers picked it up. The fact that he's at university, my laptop has a software problem. I need a quick repair. It could be as simple. I remember I was at university, possibly a little while further off than Rogers, but there were even people who used to come to just blow. You remember that thing which like blows the air? And he was, and I think it is really starting off with a skill that you have, and a lot of business really starts there. You saying, what skills do I have available to me? It was a privilege that he was doing that course, but I'd have known people who are doing repair, but they are doing a different course altogether. But the point is that the skill is there, and they are using it. Because if you don't test a skill, you don't test your concept. So every time you go out there and you start repairing that first computer, you learn from it. Sometimes you may repair and you are paid peanuts. Sometimes you are possibly not paid at all. But even then, you are actually learning. So we see that he started at that point, which I think is a critical piece for the people who are watching, to say, if I'm at university now, is there something I can start doing? There is a young man I know of who has started a small laundry facility, and he's washing people's bed covers and blankets. And I think that's the thing. When a young person starts out at that level, the fear of failure is much less. The risk of failure is also much less. I mean, you're still a student, and you can test and see what happens. So I think that's a powerful
the cost of failing at that age.
Yes, even the cost of failing.
Not much.
I mean, if you
still have time to,
if you lose everything you have at 22, the world is more forgiving, because first of all, it's not so much. But if you are experimenting at 55, at 60, the risk is much higher. If you are experimenting with 4 children in school, the risk is much. So certainly that's an advantage, and we see that in Rogers' story. Then the other thing we see is what he started his business with. I hope members captured this, where we were told, Rogers told us that he got his computer, he got his radio, he got his loudspeaker, and he went to Ntungamo and launched. Now, all of us have that, the few things you have started with as a young man. You have managed to secure a laptop, you have managed to secure a radio, and you can go and, if you have a computer, you can burn some CDs, and the business can start there. And in that modestness, it means that sometimes the capital you are looking for, you possibly already have. Because what we saw is that Rogers looked at what was seated in his small room and said, this is a capital I have available. And when he announced his arrival in Ntungamo, he said, no, I have come with my capital, I have my things here. Yes, they were in his room, now they have turned into his business. So a young person watching needs to ask themselves, is there something which I have in my room that I can be able to use? That's what we usually call at Enterprise Uganda underutilized resources. Are there some resources which are available to you? They are right there, that you can be able to pick up and start your business. Because if you do, you actually take away one of the greatest pains when you are starting. Where is the capital that I am going to start with? But we see that Rogers picked those up. And I think the other thing which I want to touch on just before I kind of close on that is the fact that he returned to Ntungamo. Now, it was interesting that Rogers was in Chambogo. I know Chambogo well. I imagine that the idea should have crossed, why don't I set up in Banda? Because Banda is right in the middle of the city. And I know that all our universities, be it Chambogo, be it Makerere, be it Mbarara, be it Gulu, they attract people from very different parts of the country. But the question which you need to ask, and I mean, I have met young people who say, me, I'm just not returning to the village. I am not going back to the, back to the village. But we see Rogers saying, I have seen that the people who repair computers in Ntungamo are coming from Kabale, they are coming from Barara, and therein he spotted his opportunity. And he says, I can be able to replace those people with the skills I have. Now, that is a very powerful question for a number of young people listening. You have to ask yourself, are there some opportunities I left back home that I could harness with the skill I have acquired? Yes, he acquired the skill in Chambogo. He acquired possibly a couple of networks in Chambogo. But the choice to return to Ntungamo meant that there was a fertile market that he could be able to harness, that he understood well. I imagine even the people who saw him said, hey, our young person has come back. This is a good young man. Let's give him some business. And that could be how you get your first few customers. So I think it's very fundamental to ask yourself, in terms of location of my business, you may want to start, but you are starting in the wrong place. I like the fact that Rogers clearly assessed his market, did a quick survey of the market, and said, I see where the gaps are. Now, I mean, irrespective of the skill which you have, you may have a skill as a photographer, you may have a skill as a videographer, but you may find that your videography skills are currently, they would go a mile away. You're trying to compete right here in the center of the city, many established businesses. Yet if you shifted that business from here and shifted it to Bukedia, you shifted it to Nebi, you shifted it to Katakwi, you shifted it to Kanungu, you may find that actually there is a lot of market which is just ready for the taking. But there has to be a shift. Because Rogers, now people say, hey, you are going back to the village. I thought you came from Ntungamo to stay, but now you are returning. But the point is that that choice to go and harness that business, and we have seen the success which he has gotten to, for me was a big step in the right direction, and possibly a lesson for some of the people watching us.
Very well put, Ronald. And I'll come to you now, Rogers, because and that's where I want us to start. I want you to paint for us a picture, and I think the reason why Ronald actually belabored to actually go a little deeper on that point is that we have a challenge. Many young people don't want to go back home. In fact, when they get out, they believe opportunities are here. Others have even looked out of the country. Now, paint for us a picture. You've made a decision, you've left university, and you're saying, I'm going to start this business back home. I'm imagining, you know, that moment, that time, you reach in Ntungamo with only your computer, your loudspeaker. You will tell us also what that loudspeaker was for, exactly. And you're like, this is where
the shop to
yes, this is where I'm going to start operating. Because I imagine a parent who has paid school fees for their child to go to university, and above all, study a course related to computers. You really struggle to convince them that actually you've seen opportunity back home in Ntungamo. So paint for us, how was that picture like? And how did you, blend in, get started, and got your balance and traction?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Charles and Leonard. It all started with deciding that I will employ myself. I will have my own company. That is how it all began. And then I went in for IT. The sector I decided to join was IT, the IT sector. This BST course, Bachelor of Science and Technology Physics, is a wide course. Yes, we studied computer and other many skills. But we did not specifically look at, those skills of computer repair. It was wide, electronics, of technology. So we studied a lot. But I realized that to achieve my dream of having an IT company, I have to get to know how to repair these computers. So from there, I started now, how do I get those skills? How do I get those computer repair skills? Then my first attempt, I went, I don't know how I got this man who I reached out to train me, to give me those skills. He was a proud man. Computer repairers were very few those days.
Especially at that time.
They were very few. He had many clients. I liked that, but he did not give me time. He was in a small room. He had very many clients, but he would despise me, this university student, but still he wants skills from me. I think he had not studied a lot. But I went there. It was in around, I would find him. I don't even remember the place where I would find him, but I would spend a lot of money on transport. But I wanted to get those skills. I went there like 4 times and gave up because he was not attending to me. There is time when I would go there and he could not attend to me. And then I stopped going there. But the chance came, time came for internship. When we were in our, when we were finishing our 2nd year, because that course was a 3-year course. Okay. So I said, this is now the time for me to get the skill. Much as many students opted to go into companies who would pay them, and but I now decided to go to a company where I would at least pay and get the skills. Okay. Where I would pay and get the skills. Then I convinced my parents, because I identified a company. It is called M&R Computer Support Center. That is what it was named. They would charge 100,000 shillings per month. So the internship period was 2 months. And I convinced my parents, please, you know, I want this skill, but here is a company which can train me, but they are charging this. Please give me this money. You know, when you give me this money, I will not ask for more money from you. So they gave me 200,000 shillings. These people would train students from different universities. Because I knew what I wanted, I would be there on time. I made sure during the 2 months of internship, I acquired all the skills that were required for me to train. And then from there, after finishing the internship, and after going back to Chambogo, I started repairing computers for students and stationaries around Banda. I was residing in Banda. So I gathered.
So you remove with your screwdrivers in the bag and all
and the toolbox.
I don't know how they are called, your toolbox.
Because repairing computer is all about software. Most of the problems are in software, not in the hardware.
They're not mechanical.
They are not mechanical, they are in software. But it also goes to mechanical.
Yes.
So I acquired most of the skills from there. But why did I go back to Ntungamo? One of the whole days, after identifying the field I should join, I went to the Ntungamo District Law Government and inquired, who repairs your computers here? They said, there is a guy from Kabare, and there is and other people we get people from Barara, from Kampala. Then I moved around people who had computers in the town. I realized that there was a very big challenge. Tell someone from Barara to come to Ntungamo to repair your computer. They would spend a lot. So that motivated me a lot. So as I think I would pray that how I wish I could finish this course and go back to my home district and start the business. So at Chambogo, during the 3rd year, I was a very busy person. I would come on time for lectures. Because there is a place where I requested someone who had a stationery. I put my kapande, my signpost, computer repair services, and I put my telephone contacts. And people would call me, and I would repair their computers. Much of the challenges I met them when I was still at the university. I remember there was the toughest challenge I encountered. There was this lady who was doing research proposals for students. He had a lot of them in her computer. Then he called me. Of course, I was marketing myself, giving them my contact. Come and remove this virus. They had some virus. Then I put my CD to repair. Oh, there was a virus that was called boot and reboot. So immediately I put my CD to remove the virus. The computer started going on and off. That was pressure, I can't tell you. The woman remembered all the research proposals she had on her computer.
And for her, that is money.
She shouted at me, "See what you have done for me." I couldn't withstand the pressure. I remember there is a friend of mine, my roommate, Owen, he's called Momza Owen. So I called him, "Owen, come and at least sit near me and give me some comfort. I'm failing to manage this pressure." So he came and we sat there. And then I made, that is the time when I learned how to use keyboard shortcuts. Yes. Because the mouse was not moving. I started using the keyboard shortcuts. Then, but there was this guy at the university who was more experienced in repairing computers. Then I went to him. He gave me the knowledge. He told me what to do to solve that problem because he had encountered it. Yeah. So that, from that experience, I realized how important people's data is, how it can be. I realized what it means to lose someone's data. So when I started working in Tungamo, I would make sure I don't lose any data. I would first back up the data and then start repairing the computer. So it helped me, that challenge.
So it also toughened you to manage pressure, because that's another thing as well, yes, especially in your business. But I'm imagining now you've landed in Ntungamo. And what was it like? How did the people take you? Because I know sometimes when we leave our villages to come to the university to study, people are like, now that one has, he has arrived, so to speak. He's better, he's in a better position now. When they see you coming back, they're like, maybe city things have been tough. That's why the guys come back home. Did you confront that kind of a challenge? No, because
during the process of convincing my parents to give me money for that training, that specific training, I was preparing them that I'm not going for jobs.
I'm coming back to work.
Yeah, I want to come and work. Then now I requested them, because they said, "But can't you remain there and look for the job?" I said, "No, I want to come home." And I saw the opportunity in Tungamo. But now I needed some money to start. Yeah. I needed some money to start. So this was I think the last time I requested money from them. I said, I want some capital to begin. I thanked them, of course. They gave me 500,000 shillings. That's the capital I began with. So what did I use this money for? The computer I had at the university had a major problem. I think it was a motherboard, so it was not working. So I only had this radio that would amplify the music and the loudspeaker. So when they gave me 500,000 shillings, I immediately went and paid rent for 100,000 shillings. And then I came back here and bought a second-hand computer. I loaded it with music. I loaded it with music, video, audio, a lot of music. And I went back. So that's how I started, with that computer and the other radio and the loudspeaker that I had. And I think I got a desk from home, a desk that where we put the computer.
Here we are.
And then
Rogers, just hold it there. Ronald, quite interesting points there, because I read, most parents, when they're done with you, they're done, they've paid tuition at the university, they're like, yeah, we are done. We still have your siblings to take care of. But Rogers here is telling us, the parents, when he approached them and he said, I want to be a businessman. First of all, that one is a challenge also.
So it's a big one.
The moment you mention, I want to be a businessman, I mean, it can be a long discussion.
You're going against the plan.
Exactly. So I find that quite critical. And I think probably it speaks something to, our parents still today. Yeah? So, but then, the issue of that business acumen, when you look at the course he did, and of course the skills he was looking for, there's nothing about burning CDs, there's nothing about, burning music, movies, and that kind of thing. But it's like, you know what? I think let me load this thing with these things. Because when I go back home...
this is the easiest way I can...
I can. So I don't know what you read from that, but I find that quite refreshing.
No, I mean, there's so many, there are a number of critical messages which Rogers has shared. And I think the first one is certainly, and I hope the parents who are leaving, these were very progressive parents. And for two specific reasons. The fact that he talked about his internship, and the fact that he chose an internship where he's not being paid, but he's the one who is paying in order to acquire the skill. I think that was very progressive from them, because they would have said, you know what, if there are opportunities to do this simpler, you do it simpler. But more importantly, accepting the news. And I know a number of young people at this point where they are saying, you know what, I think I'm just not going to look for a job. And there are a lot of merits of finding a job. You understand structure, you understand the way systems work. But a number of young people, by choice or by circumstances, are actually in a place where they are not looking for work. And I think when Rogers tells us that he saw the opportunity was there, but his parents allowed him to return. He did mention the fact that possibly he stayed at home when he returned to Ntugabo. It meant that the parents said, because when you leave, when you are going to university, some parents say, this is it, we have replaced your room with someone else, and that person will take that space. But the fact that he came back and they supported his choice. And I think many parents have received this message, and we have had mixed responses with the reception. Do you allow the person some 500,000 to be able to test their idea, or do you tell them, no, I'm going to even call all my friends and I'll find some work for you, and there is some space which is created? So that allows, because there is the power structure between the parents and the child. Even at that point, you're still dependent on your parents. And if they choose to pour water on your business idea, chances are that the dream can actually die. So the fact that they allowed him to even borrow a desk from home, because I mean the father said, but I gave you my
actually
money.
It's out of protocol.
I gave you my money, but now you are even carrying desks out of the out of the household. So that support is there, and usually it's possible even using the parents' networks to get a couple of new customers. My son has set up here, you go and visit him. The point is that that's the role the parent plays, and I think the parent who is listening has to ask, have I given the ideas? And some of these ideas may be a bit alien to you, because he's talking about software. He says, so you show me your screws and everything. He says, no, I have a hard disk. He says, but now how does that one repair? I don't get it. So the point is that you need to kind of empathize with your child as they go through this complex bit. But then there's also, and I think on the part of Rogers, being able to see the available opportunities and make sure that you crystallize the available opportunities into a service or a product. Now, we see that, yes, there are not so many people repairing computers, but even at that point when he started his business, the available opportunity actually was selling music. Come and I give you some 10 songs of Chameleon, of whoever. That was the available that was the available opportunity, and being able to have the humility to start at that level. It doesn't mean you stay at that level, but that's possibly where you start. Because sometimes when a young person is starting, they say, no, I want to repair computers for the whole district office. And yes, that opportunity, you may reach it in 1.5 years, but there are some small low-hanging fruits. The startup capital of burning music is coming here, buying a second-hand laptop, putting music on it, and then burning CDs. Luckily, you are not being chased for pirating and everything. And a number of those businesses I have seen emerge. But the point is that those are the low-hanging fruits which actually exist. And those low-hanging fruits, it is where you actually start the what? It's where you start the journey. And as you start the journey, you start walking from one step to the next step to the next step. Now, in my opinion, what is critical for us to pick up there is that the process actually, I hope people captured the fact that He went to the district, talked to them, went to people who own computers, asked, who is repairing your computers? Who is repairing computers? That is the basic research. When you talk about research, we are not saying you go and you write a full academic paper of the business opportunities in IT in Ntungamo. But you go and talk to the district IT officer and tell him, you have 20 computers here, who comes and says, no, there is a fellow from Kampala, this is his number, he comes every 3 months. Then you say, okay, yeah, 3 months, me, I will be right next to them. I can be able to come a bit faster. So it's important that we kind of do that bit of research. Don't conceptualize your idea, but you haven't asked the potential customers what they will actually need. So it's important that that happens. Another key message which we picked out, actually let me just touch something before I finalize with the other one. When we talk about available opportunities and starting small, I liked the bit when Rogers told us he put a signpost on someone else's shop. Now, you notice you have opened a shop by just putting a small signpost that I'm doing computer repair. Now you might give the other fellow 20,000 shillings for putting your signpost there. But people say, no, the fellow is located there. I have seen his signpost somewhere. Now, the point is that that's the simplicity. Now we are in the age of technology, and it could be as simple as opening up a Facebook page or opening up a Twitter account, or, and you announce that I repair computers here in Bundibujo, I repair computers here in Amuru. The point is that you need to actually start with that simplicity. Now, one of the challenges when you are starting is you look at the fellow in the shop doing stationery, and you say, I also want a shop like the one doing stationery. Yet what you need to do at that point is simply partner with him and say, no, I will put my small desk in the other corner, even behind, so that people can be able to walk through. As the customers grow, and as we saw with Rogers, as the customers grow, you can be able to do something bigger. My final point would be where you learn from. There are two events which I thought were fundamental. Now, Rogers had the humility to learn from a fellow who has been repairing computers in the area, but he doesn't have a degree. And in every industry you are entering, there are people there. Now, it was unfortunate that he wasn't as helpful as he should have been. But don't forget that Rogers tried to learn from him. So it meant that he was willing to learn from him. Now, you might have your university degree from Chambogo, from Makerere, and you are struggling to understand how you can learn from someone who can barely speak English. And you say, this fellow, but the fellow has a skill that you need. He has it, he has mastered it, and you need to have that bit of humility. And definitely also he has to have the humility to teach you. But the point is that on your part, you need to ask yourself, am I going to be able to learn from this person? We see that he also learned from an experienced person at the university. So it meant that he had to say, I put the thing into the lady's computer, and the thing is going on and off, and I'm in trouble. He even needed to get someone to stabilize him. The point is that he runs to someone who is more experienced. Entrepreneurship is about people coming together like charcoal. You come together, and you'll notice that a lot of business grows in clusters. Business don't, you go to NASA, NASA is a printing place, it's a stationary place. Why does every printer come around NASA? It's because it's like charcoal. When you bring yourselves together, you become very hot together. So if you're an entrepreneur, be willing to teach others. But also you who is aspiring to become an entrepreneur, be very willing to learn from others. Don't hide your idea in a corner and say, no, me, I know my things, and what can that fellow teach me? And I know a number of entrepreneurs fear that person will steal my idea. You have heard that one. It's always a big one. If I tell people my idea, they will steal it. My friend, your idea has not come from Mars. It has happened before, it is happening in another part of the country, and you won't be the last person to have that idea. But the moment you put it together in you come together, that's the power of things like cooperatives. When people come together, we're all coffee growers. How do we come together in these cooperatives so that we have best practices coming out? That's how the entire industry grows. So you have to have the humility to learn in such an area.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think that's well put. And viewers, one of the reasons, especially the young people listening to us, why we're having this discussion is that, I mean, like we said in the preamble to this show, we live in tough economic environments. No one doubts that. And of course, we've seen many young people who graduate from these institutions, and their biggest challenge is actually finding employment. And what we're picking from the story today is that actually you can start with the little you have and actually tick some boxes. Of course, the key here is the skill you get. And this is the point, Rogers, where I want to reach that point. Because right now, I mean, you did what you did. You began where you began and then transitioned into a vocational institute. And you mentioned in the montage how that came about. Of course, part of the reasons you gave is after attending the Enterprise Uganda sessions, you said, I need to scale this. But you can shed more light how you make the transition now from just this, establishments, little consultancy that you had begun in Tungamo, and now you're making that transition into an institute. I know most people would think of so many things. I mean, a school, and not just any school, but a school that gives those kinds of skills. It's not something that comes easy for many. So how was it like, and what did you have to do first in order for you to realize what you have today?
So thank you very much. Yes, of course, when I attended the Enterprise Uganda training, it was a 5 days training in Tungamo. It was sponsored by the First Lady. We thank her. I attended for the 5 days. I got the skills, I got the knowledge. They directed us. They told us what we had not had before. Then the mind is opened. The services we began with included, of course, computer repair and maintenance, and then banning music, like we were saying, and training people with computer skills. So I
remember the days when we would go for face to learn Word or to learn how to open
Word and those Microsoft applications.
Yes.
So I first of all downloaded training manuals and mastered them, and trained my staff, the people I was working with. And then we became perfect. People believed in us. They brought people to train. So the room was becoming small. People came to train, to get the skills to train. Of course, after advertising on radio, we advertised those skills. We advertised the services we are offering on radio. We have a radio there. Radio and Quality has done a great job there. I realized people were hungry for those skills. Then in my mind came this idea: why can't we start an institution that can provide these skills in a wider way? Why can't we legalize this? Why can't we have an institution and do this? It seems it seems in Tungamo, people want these skills. I remember my friend Dan, the one I started with, was in Kabale studying. He was not there at the time. Then I called my friends around, a few friends of mine, to share the idea with them. I have dropped this idea of starting an institution. What do you they were six in number. How do you advise me? They said, but it can start. I have this friend of mine, he's called Mr. Mans Perez. He's a controversial journalist in Tungamo. But he's a very good friend of mine. He was in that meeting. Then he said, I told them that, but I have not visited any institution. I don't know how to start. Then he told me of an institution in Kabale. It is called African College of Commerce. He said there is this man, he's called, I'm forgetting the name, I'm sorry. Then I have his contact. You know, you journalists, you're always brave. You can easily contact someone.
Yes, it comes with the trade.
Yes, then he said we can organize and go there. We can have a pilot study. Then he called him, we arranged, I thank him. Mr. Ndemere, he received us. We met with him. he shared his testimony with us. He told us when he started, I said, oh my God, these are very many years. In my mind, I said, I will not take all these years, but I'm telling you, business will humble you. But you need this energy to, to start. Then that one removed the fear before me. I said, we can start. The business had begun because I finished university in 2007, around June. Then in August, September, that's when I began business. I began in Ntungamo. Then, after 2 years, that's when RapTech Institute began.
Okay.
It was on 1st of June 2009. That's when we began.
Beautiful. Hold it there. Rogers, we'll pick it from there. Viewers, we're going to take a very short commercial break. We're still continuing after that with the story of Rogers and how he began his business after this break. Hello viewers, welcome back. It's still the Business X-Ray Show, and today we're trying to look at the topic of leveraging vocational training, to answer some of Uganda's pressing needs. And in that we have the story of Rogers. Of course, you can clearly see, if you look into his story, he managed to get certain skills, which you would call vocational skills. Only this time they were in the area of computer repair. And indeed on that, he managed to build a business. And from that business, he has managed to build a training institute, and he has been able to actually provide employment. And you can say inspiration to a number of people, young people in Ntungamo district, and is sitting where he sits today. Now, Ronald, I don't know what quick thoughts and learnings you picked in Ronald's submission before we went for the break.
Yeah, I think before we went for the break, there are a couple of messages which are coming through, which I would like to kind of just emphasize. I like the fact that Rogers saw the opportunity, but he also acknowledged that I just don't know how to do this thing. And it is important to notice that using the opportunity doesn't mean that you know how to do it. I could see an opportunity around my village that we need a nursery school. But I'm not a teacher. I don't know how a school is run. I don't know how a school is organized. But that is what separates the entrepreneur from the rest. The entrepreneur will see the opportunity and seek a way of how to get it done. Now, sometimes you become an entrepreneur when you already have the skill and the knowledge of how to do it. But even though you don't, it doesn't mean that you can't bring the business to life. We see that Rogers went up to Kabale, to the African College of Commerce, and he said, you know what, I want to do this thing in Ntungamo, but I don't know how to do it. And we are glad that the person who Rogers went to actually said, no, if that's what you want to start, this is how I started 20 years ago, 25 years ago. That's a message in itself. The fact that every business you are entering, there are people who have been in it for a while. You want to start a school, people have run schools for years. You want to start a restaurant, people have run restaurants for years. That experience exists. Now, your responsibility as an entrepreneur is to look out for it. Most entrepreneurs, actually genuinely successful entrepreneurs, if you talk to all of them, there are so many budding entrepreneurs who are feeding off the knowledge of the successful entrepreneurs. When someone tells you, I am a hotelier, you find there are many other people who have started a number of hotels who have benefited from this. The entrepreneurs seem to grow with others. So we see that the African College of Commerce formed that for RapTech, that this is the roadmap. Or possibly when Rogers went, he said, I have no building at all. He said, no building you don't need. What space do you have? If you have a small space, you do some classes in the evening, some classes in the morning. Same space, you work through that space 3 or 4 times a day. Now, that for me is a key message. So if you are a young person who is out there starting a business, you need to ask yourself, who has walked this journey? Can I go and talk to them? Now, it's true. You'll go to some of them and they'll say, say, no, I don't want to tell you. That's a choice they make. But of every 10 entrepreneurs, 7 will say, here is something I will do. But you need to understand that the time of the entrepreneur who you are learning from is valuable. And they want you to take it seriously. One of the things which hurts many entrepreneurs is talking to a young person. Then you meet them after 3 months and say, what have you done? And say, from the time we talked, can we come and talk again? They want to talk to you. I know that when African College of Commerce passes through Ntungamo and sees Raptech is actually already operational, says, that's a seed I planted, and that institution is growing. Another thing which I wanted to kind of touch on was the fact that in starting, you need to ask yourself, how do I use networks to my advantage? He talked about a journalist who linked him to this person. Now, sometimes the journalist is not a technical person. He also doesn't know how the school is being done. But the networks are being created there. As an entrepreneur, it is your responsibility to nurture those networks. You need them. The ability to network is one of the key competences of a successful entrepreneur. And make sure that you are working those you are what do they call it, nourishing those networks. Because he's a journalist, he's a friend. And when Roger said, you know what, I want to start a school and I think it's impossible, my friend said, no, I was covering a story in Kabale the other day. I met this gentleman. This is what he's doing. I can link you up. Now, a lot of entrepreneurship is that, me linking you up to someone, and you also, I imagine that when Rogers goes back and he has met Charles, who is a business journalist, he's going to say, no, Charles's number now I have. I can also link you up. And possibly, he can also open up some business for him if he can link him up to you as someone who is a business journalist. Now, we need to ask ourselves, are we doing that with our networks? Beautiful. As I said earlier, entrepreneurship, you can't grow alone. The capacity to be able to nurture those networks and to kind of make sure that they are nourished, that's where the growth is done. You could do whatever you do, you could have an amazing plan, but if the networks haven't been well utilized, chances are the business may not succeed.
Beautiful, beautiful. Viewers, you can be part of this discussion, so we'll keep flashing that WhatsApp number where you can send your comments, question or suggestion. Now, Rogers, still talking about the issue of networks. Yes. Because I know, like Ronald put it, it's very, very critical to build and take care of those networks. Because also it's one thing to start them. There are many people who are not very good at sustaining and nourishing those networks to keep serving. Now, what are some of the partnerships that you've built that have helped you, push through with this investment, especially when you made that decision to start this institute?
I think I like that word, sustaining, sustaining the networks. That is very important. As a young person who was starting in Ntungamo, I'm from a county called Rahama County, Rahama constituency. And by the time I was finishing university, the first lady was our member of parliament. With her love for young people, she was now trying to figure out, what can I do for these young people? There was a program called Nsaru operating in Ntungamo. Then she started mobilizing us and bringing people to train us. And at the end of the day, they started giving us some seed capital. We organized ourselves in groups. And then they started giving us money in groups. I remember they started giving us 500,000 shillings to be payable in 6 months. So that was a very big network. As a young person from Rahama County, now connected with this group. So I registered Raptech group, and we benefited. So that's why I was talking of sustaining.
Yes.
I would make sure that I pay that money in time. So when I would pay that money in time, compared to others who were not paying in time,
yes,
these people could easily give me more money
You're eligible for more.
Yeah, they would give me 1 million, even before they give others. They reached the extent of giving us 2 million. And of course, because I was putting this money in the business was moving. I remember we did not have internet, so one time they gave us 1 million. We installed internet and started providing internet services to the people. And even to them, because they needed internet when they would come. Mama would frequent Ntunga when she was the MP for Hama. So they were our first customers. They would come, load those pictures, send, their press team would come there. The network grew. But because I was paying very well, that made my name stand out from all those that were benefiting. So there is one time when the first lady was going to meet a women's group in one of the sub-counties called Rukoni. Then I met this lady who was heading the organization, Saru. She's called Madame Margaret Kachtahi. I saw him, I didn't know that Mama was in Tunga. I greeted her. Of course, from her report, she was seeing how I was paying very well. She said, by the way, Rogers, Mom is going to meet women groups in Rukoni. Can you come and give your testimony? I went. I gave my testimony. I told Mama, I told the congregation what I did with the money she gave me. I didn't know I was speaking words that would touch her heart. After finishing, she called me and she held my hand and she looked straight into my eyes. She said, "You have made my day." From there was that connection, and it is still there. That network is still there. I have had many projects that I have done with the First Lady in Tungamo district. So that's a network I have sustained for being trustworthy, paying back the money, and for having a good name in society there. So that is one of the biggest network I have had in my business journey.
That's beautiful. Ronald, that's quite something. Because many times we've seen young people, especially when money, comes in that kind of form, many look at it as it's like manna that has fallen from heaven. Yeah. And even if it is to be repaid back, because we've seen quite a number of government programs where people get this money and they just disappear. Yeah. They're like, it has come, let's have a good day. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you actually mess up that network. It's even stretched. We've seen entrepreneurs who go to the banks, borrow money, and it becomes a problem having that money recovered from them. And in the end, the bridges are burnt. I don't know what you can speak about that, because I believe it is very, very critical, because like we said right from the onset, as a young person, you may not have the capital. The capital is mobilized from the people. Exactly. From the linkages, from the networks. Yeah. What do you say?
No, I think I totally like what Rogers has mentioned, and I'll go back to where he started about the question of sustainability. Yeah. It is critical to notice that every relationship you have, every business relationship, every network, a relationship you create with a financer, a relationship you sometimes even create with someone who gives you a grant, is a relationship which you need to sustain. I hope the audience captured the fact that when Rogers went into the group, it was called Nsaru, the Nsaru group, they first gave him 500. Yes. Now, I imagine that possibly 100 people got the what? The 500. Every time, and government will have a number of projects. We have seen a number which have gone through. But at an individual level, as an entrepreneur, the moment you have a grant into your business, you need to treat it with the seriousness that you treat a loan from a bank, that the seriousness you treat for a loan from your microfinance. Yes. Because the moment you don't, you need to actually think that the grant I've got is a loan without interest. Yes. Or it is a loan where my capacity to just pay it back is really what will be able to push me. Now, that is where the mistake is. I would say that one of the things is that we all notice that most of us, the first place you borrow is from immediate family members.
True.
You borrow from your father, your mother, your sister, your brothers. But those loans are usually not taken very seriously. When your brother lends you, say, you man, you see how the economy is. You have to understand. And you know your brother is not going to take you to prison. Yes. Be a bit more worried if it's a bank, but your brother isn't. But we see that what we see in Rogers' story is his capacity to say, I am going to what? I am going to take this seriously. This is Saru Group. So they move from 500. They move to 1 million. They move to 2 million. Remember that the group has a portfolio. They said, this man, we have given him money 4 times and he has returned it on time. Yeah. Now, if you are out there and everyone who is lending you keeps saying, no, we don't want to give you anymore, it is feedback to you that you haven't paid back on time. If you have been stuck and every time you find that you are getting small bits of capital, it might be feedback on how you treated the capital which you received. You need to treat that capital with respect. When you treat it with respect, it means it takes priority over even you, the entrepreneur. Before you get a bit of a profit out of the business, before you take anything out of the business, you need to make sure that your credit is being repaid. Because these relationships grow. It is Saru Group which will talk to another bank. Says, no, this young man is very good, you should trust him. Now, when he enters the bank, it is the behavior he had with the Saru Group which becomes the evidence that he can be able to take a bit more money. And even another bank will start saying, and I think you see it with banks, well, yeah, you are performing very well here. Please also come to ours. They know it is your performance. You need to, as an entrepreneur, you need to know that your credit performance, your credit worthiness is actually an asset. Beautiful. It is an asset which you can use to be able to grow your business. And as the relationships grow, people call upon other people. When your name starts being mentioned, as Rogers' name is mentioned in Tungam, we're going to Tungam, there is this young man, you go and talk to him. The moment that happens, resources go to you. And you will notice that even the aspirations, we are currently going into the premium program of the government, which is the parish development model. The fact is that if that 100 million comes to your parish, and you are one of the lucky people, because we know the entire parish is not going to be, they're not going to get it on the first day. But you might be one of the lucky 10 people who get that money first. If you are one of those people, your responsibility is going to be, how do you treat that with the seriousness that you, because as you elevate, you grow, more opportunities come. But the moment you destroy that trust, you will find that the system starts avoiding you. And it's even true at a family level. If I borrow from my brother, I borrow from my sister, I borrow from my father, and I don't pay them back, when I call them and say, you people help me with 200, they will tell me, you know what, we have no money. But I say, you man, I think you have money. But they are giving you feedback that when we lend to you, you don't pay.
You didn't pay. Thank you. Viewers, again, before I go into the questions, because I'm seeing quite a number of comments and questions coming through, Rogers, I would like to pick your mind on some of the principles. I know you've shared, a couple of them in passing, that have helped you sustain your operations as a businessman. And in that, I want you to also speak to the issue of managing human resource, or workers for that matter.
Thank you very much. One, I have talked about hard work. Hard work. With business, you have to be a hard worker. You have to be very creative, being creative, because this is a changing world. And being trustworthy, like we have already talked about. And there is also this that we always tend to forget of God-fearing, because God-fearing is comprehensive, to brings all, it captures all this. And then when it comes to the side of workers, I think I have people that I started with, like Mugume Danson. I remember Mugume Danson came and found me at Chambogo. He visited me. He was in his senior 6 vacation, I said, I'm going back to Ntungamo. I want us to work together. When I went back, on day 1, I started with him. I'm telling you, we have worked together up to now, since 2007.
Wow.
How does this come about? Respecting each other. He respects me, I respect him, and all the other workers. And knowing that they also want to develop themselves, not looking only at yourself. These people want to develop them, they want to have themselves developed. They want to start families, they want to continue with the education, they want to study. They have their essential needs. And counseling them, sometimes you need to call them. Of course, any other person can make a mistake. You call him, tell him this and this and this did not go well, but we can do it like this. Yeah. And again, showing them the way, directing them, showing them, bring your vision before them. Yeah. Because if you don't show them what you are seeing, yeah, some of them may be short-sighted, and they may now pull you back. But when you keep on, of course, you have to keep on showing them, showing them where you.
Because you know, on that note, Rogers, we've seen many entrepreneurs, and if you ask, it is only the proprietor who knows the vision. The vision bearer is the one who can define.
So that limits you.
Exactly.
You don't tap from their skills, their knowledge.
Absolutely. I think that's quite important. Now, in terms of challenges, what are some of the challenges that you've met as an entrepreneur on this journey? Just a few, a digest of those, and how have you been able to scale them? Because we've seen a number of people, when they are challenged in business, they want to jump ship, and they say, I think this is, because one of the biggest challenges is actually the resilience to hang in there and say tomorrow will be a better day. Yes.
So like the business of an institution, what it requires. Yeah. You need structures, because the way we started, the very place where we are renting, by that time, by the time we started the institute, I had already proved to be resourceful before my landlord. He had already entrusted me with the work of managing his premises, because he does not stay in Ntungamo. He works from Mbale.
That's a good one.
So this place had these 2 rooms in front, and then double rooms behind, 6 double rooms, boys' quarters. So I convinced this man when the idea came in. You know what? I have the idea of starting the institution. I don't even know why he risked his business, his building. Because I requested him to allow me break the middle part of the double rooms for the 6 rooms, so that I can create
some big space.
A big space there. And he accepted. And that's how we began. We began from there, we advertised, and then the institution started. Then now, but the place became small. I remember this time when I decided to purchase land to construct the institution. That land I bought it at 20 million, but I think I did not even have 5 million. And this man asked me to pay 10 million at first, and gave me 3 months. And then I borrowed here and there, and
started running around, mobilized.
Yes, and got the 10 million and paid back. But that one made the business go into debts. I think that experience is big, because I was indebted for some good years. Because I tried to solve what I could not manage at the time.
Yes, what you could not chew.
Yes. So, but that was some experience. Today I'm so much conscious when I'm to go for a loan. Because you don't even have 3 million, and you are buying an asset of 20 million. So that was a very big mistake. But I did this because I wanted to have an institution in its own place, not appreciating what you have at the moment. You want something big that can end up making you lose even what you have.
The little you have, yeah.
So debts can be a very big challenge, and I think another challenge could be being able to, from the little money that the parents pay, being able to pay the workers. And Raptech Institute is known for paying its workers in time. We pay our workers. That's why we have been able to sustain them.
Yeah.
We pay our workers in time. So I better don't eat but pay my people, because they are sacrificing. They are sacrificing. They come and teach. How do I tell them that there is no money? I better borrow
and have them
paid.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So being able to run the institution with a little budget, with a small budget, was a very big challenge.
That's a tough one, eh? Now, I want us to go into the questions. Some of them have started coming in, our viewers. I have Peter. Peter is from SETA. He's saying, hi, thanks for the program. I want to start a forex trading school. How can you advise me? In other words, there's another guy who wants to start an institute or an education. What kind of advice? And I know there are many Peters out there. Would you give them?
So thank you so much, Peter, for the question. And I would encourage you to continue with that dream. You see, I told you, when the idea came, I didn't allow it to die. Many people get these ideas, but they end up dying there. I would advise you to, I don't know how much time how long you've taken with that idea. This business idea is something that needs some time to grow. Yeah. You have to grow like how a mother, like how a child takes 9 months in a mother's womb. This business idea needs some time. When you get the idea like that one, and the following day you are in business, before the idea has matured enough, before you are ready to take it up, the moment you face business and you face challenges, those are the people that do give up, even before 6 months elapse. So give it time to grow. Grow your business idea. How do you grow it? I was telling you, when the idea of starting an institution came, I did benchmarking. I went to someone who was already doing it. So do the same. This is someone who is successful in that kind of business, which is related to that. Also visit those that are not progressing very well. Visit several of them. Don't visit only one. Share with them. When you share with them, try to identify the opportunities there and the challenges. When they tell you of the challenges, by the time you start the business, you'll be knowing that I'm starting this business, but it has this challenge. So you'll be ready to face it. And for you as a new person, you have to think of ways of turning the challenges into an opportunity. You need that psychological preparation. Yes. Beautiful, beautiful. Ronald, I have James Alemi. James is one of our ardent
hello, James.
Viewers. Yes. So James says vocational education is the cure for the current unemployment problem among the young people. It provides practical employable skills that are on demand. I'm proud to be a car repair technician. And I think James is one of the experts. One of the popular ones. I don't know what you can say about that.
Yeah, I think the thing is that any economy which is at the point of takeoff needs thinkers to agree on which direction it is going, but more importantly, it needs people who do, so that they can be able to make these things. So whichever, I mean, when you think about agro-processing, yes. Agro-processing, what does it mean? It means that we need to put in place machines which can make good flour, machines which can clean coffee. And the question which you have to ask is, which skill set does someone need to be able to run that machine? That's a vocational skill. Then which skill set do we need to have the people who can make the machines, which can be able to do that? That's a vocational skill. Which skill do we need to be able to use the technologies? And I think it's important to also look at the vocational side of even digital technology. It is the ability that someone can be able to take a video of an event and be able to compress it into a 15-minute catchy video. That's a vocational skill. Someone needs to know how to use those softwares to be able to do that. So we need to kind of broaden those skills. But I think there are two ways of looking at vocational education. One, it is looking at it from the perspective of there is a clear demand for people who have good skills, who can be able to deliver those. James is a mechanic, and there is a clear demand for good mechanics. Mechanics who deliver on time, mechanics who actually tell you this is the part and it's actually the part. So there is a clear demand for that. But also we need to look at it from the perspective of the investors in education. By far the big investors in education, we have the government, which pays for a number of people to get education. But we also have the parents, who are by far also one of the biggest investors in education. And I think one of the shifts that needs to happen is also within the parents. So that we start asking ourselves as parents, can we invest in this education? You have noticed that it's also expensive to be able to get very good vocational education. There are tools and equipments which are needed. You need to pay the teachers well. I think Roger's talked about this. You need to pay the teachers well if they are to be able to transfer good skills. Now the question which we need to ask is, can we have a shift so that parents start investing in this? Sometimes the children may try to demand for it and say, like Rogers here said, this is what I need to go deeper. But I think the parents need to say it is as a worthwhile investment. That am I willing to pay the same amount I am willing to pay for a degree, to pay for very good vocational education? That's a question we need to ask. And I feel like there's a shift, but it's something which we need to see happening more.
Beautiful, beautiful. I have Jimmy. Jimmy is in Arua. He's saying, he's beginning with a challenge. Straightforward. The challenge I'm foreseeing in my business startup is managerial skills. I'm at the point of starting a retail shop located in Arua. And I would like to manage this remotely from Kampala, because this is where I hunt for the working capital. I don't know what you gentlemen can say about it. What kind of advice would you give him?
So thank you very much. You know, with business, you have to devise ways of monitoring, being able to monitor the business as you are starting. That's why I like this IT sector. You can create a program that can give you daily reports. That's what I do in my businesses. I developed some programs that I can use to track everything that takes place in my businesses, whether the institute or any other business. So that's what I would advise him. Remotely. That can track all those items, and they send you. Today we have internet. They can send you those reports via email, and you see the business as if you were there physically. Good. So that's what I would advise him, to take advantage of IT. And that's what the digital economy has brought on board. Well, quite a number of messages here. I have someone watching is saying, I had fear to start up a business, but through the testimony of Rogers, it has made me grow stronger. Then I have someone here is saying, a great afternoon, I'm blessed to watch this fruitful program. This is Songoma Mark Jackson, President of Umoja House Painters Association. Sure, I want to get in touch with those guests so that I can see how we house painters can start our vocational institute. Come to think about it, who trains the painters? Exactly. But anyway, that's the point.
And it's a vocational skill.
Exactly. So quite a number of questions, but viewers, I have to apologize because we've come almost near the end of this interface. So quite a number of people here asking how can they get in touch with you, Rogers? What would be the best way to get in touch with you?
I think I can share my contact.
Yes.
My telephone contact is 0702 575517, and then the MTN contact is 0777 669 290. They are both on WhatsApp.
Great. What would be your last message, Rogers, as we come to this?
My last message, especially to the young people, I started business when I was 24, but the business mind started developing when I was, I think, 22.
Yeah.
So I would advise them start developing the business mind when they are still young.
Right.
Let them use this this age of 20 to 30. If you are in that age bracket, use it very well. If you miss out that, then you may mess up life. And you have to be mindful of what you think, what you prioritize, what you treasure. The Bible says that your mind, your heart is where your treasure is, that is where your heart is. And all the other people, especially now that we have this big program, the parish development model that is going to every village. You have heard of my testimony of using Nsaru money and turning my life around. So I would request that, you see, the government has this big dream of seeing every household being able to sustain itself and to create wealth. So let's see people who can go to the bush of socio-economic transformation. Let it be voluntary. In Tungamo, I do teach people voluntarily business and entrepreneurship skills. Can we have people who can come up and study such a program and have their input in it by training people? Beautiful.
Good point. Ronald, wrap this for us.
Yeah, I think
in 1 minute.
Yes, a big thank you to Rogers. We are very happy to have you here. I want to thank all of you who have been watching. As Enterprise Uganda, it's always exciting when we listen to the stories of business people. It's our mandate to help Ugandan businesses to start and to grow. We're having the Global Entrepreneurship Week this coming November, as I think we'll talk about it even in the next show. Please do take part, and you can go to our social media platforms on Twitter, Enterprise Uganda, on Facebook, and on our website. Those of you who possibly want to reach us on WhatsApp and a phone, you can just call 0770 839339. You can just send a WhatsApp there to get a feel of some of the programs that are happening and also to engage in the Global Entrepreneurship Week. We are very excited.
Thank you, Rogers. That's all we had time for, dear viewers. Until next time, I've been your host, Charles Boji. Have a good evening and God bless.